Hi, my name is Alman Ainsworth. Thank you very much for joining another episode of APTV. Today I got Paul Waterson, the CEO of Oz Venue Co. for the second time. That's right. So we got a repeat customer here. We're here in Melbourne's flagship Garden State on Flinders Lane. Oz Venue Co. has 210 venues with over $1 billion of revenue. It's an enormous business that has a pretty good handle of what's actually happening on the ground and their finger on the pulse. So it's really good to hear what Paul has to say versus what we're reading in the media. Paul, thank you very, very much for coming on.
Good morning, gentlemen.
I really like that hat.
It's a ripper, isn't it?
Thanks for wearing it.
Pleasure.
You can take it off now. Paul, we keep reading and hearing about this poor market sentiment. Retail's down, interest rates are up, consumer spending's down. But when talking to individual retailers, what are you seeing in the tills?
Well, trade's still really strong, Zalman. We're up about 11% on that same time last year, which is about 35% up on pre-COVID on a like-for-like basis. So there seems to be this disconnect between the media narrative and actually what's happening on the ground. And I think eating out, food and beverage is an affordable luxury that people just want to hold on to, and they especially value it post-COVID. So it's still really strong. Yeah,
we're hearing from individual fashion services, F&B, that trade is great, better than last year pre-COVID, but then you read that it's like coming to an end.
Yeah, I know. Well, you can't believe everything you read, can you? Like headlines like that sell newspapers, but it's very different to what's happening on the ground. You can see how the city is buzzing in a way that it wasn't a couple of years ago. So, and all I can tell you is the numbers are very strong.
In the CBD, or is it all around Melbourne?
So the CBD in Melbourne is particularly strong, but even the suburban areas are still trading very, very well. They obviously had that uplift immediately post the pandemic. That's pulled back a bit as more people come into the city. The CBD is particularly strong.
Yep, and we're now in Garden State on Flinders Lane. Is this your biggest venue in your portfolio?
Well, it's probably second behind the Espy. So I know you let this out back in 2014 to the Sandhill Road guys. It's been an incredible success. So yeah, congratulations on this one.
It's a long time ago, but still one of the biggest F&B deals I've done in my entire career, and something I'm super proud of. But this now is 2014, so we're about 9 years from handover, or from when the lease started. How is it maturing or aging?
Oh, I think the quality of the fit out and the quality of the offering has meant that it's become really a durable part of the food and beverage fabric within Melbourne. What it's also done is given us the ability to continue to evolve. So you see behind us, we've got an Italian concept restaurant, Tipite, that we put in 2 years ago. So the way that the space has been designed enables it to continue to evolve and emerge as trends in food and beverage change. So it's a very smart design, and the location's outstanding.
And what's the next trend coming?
Well, there's still a big focus on outdoor spaces and outdoor dining, and I know we spoke about that back in 2020. That hasn't changed. At the same time, we tend to really stay true to what are pub classics and classic pubs. So I think we don't tend to chase trends in different dining offerings. In terms of beverage, we're still seeing a rapid evolution of spirits and cocktails, perhaps a decline in classic beers are continuing, and craft beer is having a really tough time at the moment. But you see movement in beverage space. Tequilas at the moment are probably the next big thing coming from the US.
Is anyone doing tequilas in Australia yet?
Oh, there's plenty of good tequila bars around town, but you're certainly seeing that movement probably from where it was gins 2-3 years ago to tequila and agave-based drinks.
And Australian whiskies and Australian gins seem to have a resurgence in the last couple of years. Is that being competitive in the global space?
Yeah, very much so, particularly some of the Australian whiskies, particularly out of Tasmania, as well as the work the Starwood guys have been doing. Like some of our whiskies are really up there with world quality product.
Paul, Oz Venue Co has 12 pubs in the Melbourne CBD. In your experience, having 12 venues here, how has the council impacted positively or negatively your business?
We really love that the way the council, Sally and the council have reactivated the CBD, and it's enabled us to do things that perhaps you couldn't do pre-pandemic, like Yarra Botanica, our floating pontoon that we did with Parks Victoria. We've just spent nearly $6 million renovating Morris House on Exhibition Street. It just gives us a lot of confidence to invest in the city as we see that nighttime economy stronger than it's ever been. And you look back to some of the decisions like the parklets at the time that was made, that had a material positive impact on our trade coming out of COVID. So we're really happy to keep investing in the CBD.
But what's council doing specifically to help business owners like you?
Well, there's a couple of things that council and government's done. There's been the removal of the late night liquor freeze. So more previously, you could only get new liquor licences to 1 a.m. That's now been extended to 3 a.m. The use of expanded space outside the venue, and then the ability to activate spaces like the river that perhaps was potentially a lot more harder prior to the pandemic.
And this wasn't happening 5 years ago?
No, it definitely wasn't happening 5 years ago. I think there's been a renewed appreciation for food and beverage in Melbourne CBD, and now you see that in the footfall. We're driving trade back into the city on weekends, and everyone's benefiting from that.
The council seems to be a lot more personable and one-on-one as opposed to a faceless office. They have the business concierge that's helping businesses with anything they can do to make their successes in the city quicker and easier.
The council's been I think they appointed some really key roles. So Katrina McKenzie's role, looking at reactivating the city. And as you know, Sally's always available. The council is generally available and helpful and really genuinely listen. So yeah, we couldn't be happy with our relationship, and which is why we're a proud Melbourne-based CBD business.
Back in 2020, we spoke about the cost of staffing. You said back then the cost of staffing was 27 cents per dollar. What is a labor cost for your venues across all of Australia? Yeah,
so it's around 33% of revenue, and that's probably typical as what you'd see in pubs. So in restaurants, it's a little bit higher, usually 40% and above. It has grown over time, but you've seen pretty dramatic increases in the Fair Work Award increases. So 5.75 last year, 4.6% the year before, and that has impacted the cost base. Having said that, those increased amounts that we're paying the staff has helped with retention and attraction to the sector. Probably less useful has been some of the increases in things like workers' compensation, in things like mental health levies. Costs like that have added material cost to businesses like ours. So yeah, it's definitely been increasing over the journey as a percentage of sales.
And how are you managing those costs? Through price increases?
Well, yeah, you've had to do it through price. Yeah. And it's really, there's the three levers, right? There's price, mix, and volume. Right. And you really got to lift prices to the extent that your cost base increases, because there's not much else you can do about it.
And the increased cost from a restaurant versus a pub, is that because you have more trained labor in a restaurant versus a pub?
Yeah, it's probably two factors. Food is a greater percentage of sales in a restaurant compared to a pub. So typically we're about 65% beverage, 35% food. Restaurants are probably closer 55% food, 45% beverage, which leads to higher costs in the kitchens, and then obviously more intense labour management front of house.
And how's that affecting your trade on public holidays, weekends? Are you able to sustain those sort of?
Very much so. Yeah, look, it's always expensive running businesses on weekends and public holidays, but fortunately for us with large format businesses, it enables us to generate the trade to still make us trade profitably. We have also added surcharges to many of our venues on public holidays to account for that 150% increase in staff costs on those days.
Perfect. So Oz Venue Co. as a group back in 2014 had 5 venues. Right. When we spoke in 2020, you had 170 venues, and today you now have 210.
Yes.
What does the next 2 years look like?
I don't know, like we think we can pretty consistently buy at least 25 venues a year, renovate another 25, and then perhaps do 5 greenfields as well a year. So we think we can pretty consistently compound our growth at about 10%, which we've been well and truly been able to do over the last 5 years. So our sales now are north of $1 billion. So we've become a good sized business.
Wow. Yeah. So where to from here? Just keep growing?
Keep growing. The good thing about the business is it's really strongly cash flow positive. We've got really good capital partners who are very supportive. We think we've really refined our model now, so we know exactly what a good AVC pub looks like, and so we'll just keep on the same path that we've been on the last 4 or 5 years.
And for any pubs that you're looking to acquire, you're still looking at their EBITDA of 4 to 5 times.
Yeah, the multiples have stayed consistently about 4 to 5 times the last 12 months EBITDA. And the good thing about pubs, they're very easy to due diligence. So it's very easy to look at the quality of earnings, look at the revenue, look at the cost base. So yeah, we still would review well over 100, 120 pubs a year, and we'd probably buy about 25 of those that we look at.
Wow, great.